Hey everyone, it's Tammy Taylor again, back for Troy University. I am going to be doing my modeling for Mr. Jackson of lesson plans. So I'm first going to show you that on my Google Drive. I have it so I have my Elliott template loaded already. It's just something that I save when I go in to start a new lesson plan. Then I make a copy of this. That way I always have a blank copy made for myself. So I will go in and I will make a copy, and I'm going to label this one as lesson plans 4/8 to 4/12 of 19. So the first stuff right here is self-explanatory. You would put your name. There's two of us Taylors here at the school, so I always put T. Taylor. The week for this lesson plan starts on a Monday, so I would do Monday, and the date would be 4/8 of 19. I copy this continuously for the whole entire week. I'm only showing you all, though, for one day. The subject that I teach is geometry and algebraic connections. Of course, I do a different lesson plan for each course that I teach. And we are going to do, for this day, a breakout. And so the materials that they are going to need is paper, of course. We're in mathematics, a pencil / a pen. We are not very picky these days. A calculator and their Chromebook. We are a one-to-one school, so everybody is required to bring them daily. However, the course of study and the lesson objectives, this is not what I need. For me, when I'm going to find these, if I open a new tab, you see up here that I have Alex saved. When I click on this tab and I go to mathematics, it lets me click geometry, and it has all of our course of studies written out for us. That is very helpful, Troy, for you to do, to have that tabbed over for you or on your bar. Also, here at Central, we're a Common Core, not a Common Core, a College and Career Readiness Standard. So we have these as well that I try to keep handy to look back and forth if I am missing something. So for my lesson plans, I'm going to be using GMG1, and when I'm doing these standards, I will write them on a calendar or somewhere so that I have them handy for the next year. They keep changing numbers on us, so that's something hard for us to do. And this standard is using geometric shapes and their measures. I'm not going to write this out for Troy just because he can look them up on the tab that I will share with him. And we are also going to be using GMG3. And we are also going to be using GSRT and 8. So these are using geometric shapes, applying geometric methods, and using trig ratios and the Pythagorean theorem. So for the engagement, we always want our kids to come in and see what they're wanting to do. And they used to be very short and to the point on our old lesson plans. It was students will be able to, or we would abbreviate it SWBAT. And for this one, we are going, instead of saying that, we're going to elaborate, and we're going to say that students will be given, and we're going to be specific on here, pictures involving right triangles on the smartboard. Again, we try to use technology as much as possible, so we use our smart boards daily, and the kids interact with them. When they look at those problems on the board, we're going to have our students are going to be required to write a real world problem. Now, this is more than usual. Usually it's just solve for X, solve for Y. However, Elliott doesn't want us to do that. Elliott wants us to be thinking about the reader, not the reader, excuse me, the student. So we're going to have them do real world problem, a real world scenario. It's not really a problem. Representing the picture. That means this time we are giving them a picture and they are writing the word problem for it. After they get done with that, then students will solve their problem and give the answer. However, not just the answer, but we want correct units. So, we want them being involved. For exploration, this is where their Chromebooks come in at. I was going to show you all an old lesson plan. I can show you this one. So this used to be our old lesson plan. It was just lesson objective, what standards are they working on, students will be able to, students will do this, students will do that. Nothing big, nothing fancy, just point blank to the point. And so what I'm trying to get Troy to do is be very descriptive in his lesson plans. So for the exploration, they're not just going to work with the Pythagorean theorem. Instead, I'm going to write this out. Students will work in partners to complete a right triangle digital escape room, and so on. I'm going to pause, write it out for you, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, I'm back. You will see under the exploration that I have students will work in partners to complete a right triangle digital escape room. The room requires students to answer sections of questions about right triangles. Upon successful completion of the questions, the students are provided with a hint to derive their research, to derive their research of famous mathematicians and the history of math. The research gives them the answers to the particular lock for that section. Once the correct lock is entered, each section, the students will, quote, escape the break room. And I will attach to my documentation for you all the link to that breakout. I will also attach, when I'm sending this to Troy, I will send this, I will give him the answer sheets that I provided for my students as well, so that he can see what I have going on is exactly what I'm having them do. Afterwards, I will have students, this is where we want them to think a little more. We are going to, students will show their work for each section. Now in math, we never allow them just to give us the answers. They have to show their work. Each student will turn an answer sheet in. Now for the elaboration, they are going to, each section of questions exposes students to a different type of problem from the right triangle. So some of them are going to be geometric means, some of them are going to be inequalities. I'm not going to have you, Troy, watch me type this. I will send you a completed form when you're done. Just know that every problem is not the same, so it's not skill and drill. And then how am I going to evaluate my students down here is that they will be required to turn in their answer keys with their work shown. This will allow me to be able to formatively assess them, and I will have to recommend problems for them to practice if they do not have their understanding. So be mindful that you have your course of study standards on your desktop readily available to you, that you have your college and career readiness standards, and that when you're making this lesson plan, that you need to remember that for Elliot, the learner is the most important thing in mind. So let me know if you have any questions. I will send you again a completed copy of my lesson plan filled out.